Good morning, traders. It is 9:02 a.m. on Thursday, the 5th of October, 2017. Thanks for joining me again for our probably 1200th Trader Bite, early nourishment for your trading mind. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The market is mostly in the green this morning. Pretty much everything is up except for the euro. The euro is down 39 pips, trading at 117.70 currently on the futures. Also, the DAX is down 19.5 points. Everything else is positive. RBOB is up strong 2%. RBOB gasoline, followed by the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's up 0.34% or 20 points. NASDAQ was big swinger yesterday. So was the Russell. But pretty much everything is up. The Dow Jones is the weakest of the up indices at 0.04% or 10 points. But overall, you name it, Bund, Treasuries, gold, Japanese yen, crude oil, indices, 10 years, they're all up, including the US dollar. Very interesting. So that's where we stand right now. The key thing to look out for today, there was some stuff that happened in the UK with Prime Minister Theresa May. There's a strong push or a strengthening push to get her removed. We'll see how that shakes out. That may have an effect on the markets in Europe in some way, potentially affecting how Brexit plays out. But that's where it stands. Other than that, I don't see anything that's big for the overnight session. Um, as far as what we're expecting today, what's likely to drive us today, the key number we have today is durable goods orders at 10 a.m. Eastern. For August, expecting 1.7%. We're also getting factory orders at 1%, expected at 1%, also 10. But today it is the parade of Fed speakers or central bank speakers. We had the ECB speaker Pratt at 4:30 Eastern. We had ECB speaker Kerr at 8:15. We're having Fed speaker Powell at 9:10 in the next 5 minutes. We have Fed Speaker Williams at 9:15. We have Fed Speaker Harker at 10 a.m. We have Fed Speaker McCafferty at 12. We have BOE Speaker McCafferty at 12. And at 1:30 we get BOE Speaker Haldane. And then at 4:30 we get Fed Speaker George. So they're letting all of them out of their cage today, and they're going to be pushing some sort of an agenda, probably some talk about lightening up their balance sheets and increasing interest, threatening to increase interest at some point in the future that we don't really care about. As far as what we were expecting yesterday, here we go. Yesterday, we were looking for, because we finished neutral extreme on Tuesday. Here we go. Remember, we pushed the bottom, we pushed the IB low by a couple ticks, and then we close at highs. That's called a neutral extreme. This has a high probability of pushing the high the next day. So we were looking for the market to push the high and fall back into the fold and be stuck around the 2531 area. That was the primary hypothesis. Didn't quite work out that way. What did work out is the secondary hypothesis, which was to open sideways, push out of range, and then stay out of range. And that's essentially what we got yesterday. Here's what the market looked like. There's our wonderful stair-stepping pattern that we're working with, and here's your consolidation, right? Sideways open auction, push out, and then stay out. It attempted to push back in, could not, and stayed outside of the range, pushing to new all-time highs at 25.38, and just holding. It's not able to It's not able to find any sellers at all as it advertises prices higher. It seems like sellers are nowhere to be found. And so we continue on our merry way here to new all-time highs every day. Currently, the market has traded sideways overnight. Oh, this is the overnight inventory chart, not what I wanted. And my ES overnight. Just 1 second. I might have closed it inadvertently. Here we go. Sideways trade, more range overnight. Last night we got a whole 4 points, and it's pushing higher. It's showing strength. It has consolidated pretty much the entire evening, the entire overnight session here in the U.S. Time, and we just broke higher on the initial claims and are holding these high prices 25, 39, 75. Given the way we closed yesterday, the inability to break through the mid of the session and back into the IB, we're showing strength into the close yesterday. So another new high, believe it or not, is in play for today. Wanted to show you a pattern that was forming in the Russell that would have been really sweet to play on today. The Russell yesterday opened up, tested out of range, tested out of value. There's value. The light blue is the value area. The gray is the area outside of value. It pushed out of value, came back in, tested the very blunt LVN in the middle, and then pushed out of the prior day's range, and then was immediately confronted by sellers. You could see the volume drying up at the top, and then it pushed the other side. So it crossed the IB in just 2 moves. And what I would have liked to have seen yesterday is that it continues and it holds near lows. And what that would set up is at least a couple of sessions of the Russell selling off. But of course, instead, it just drifted right back and closed at the mid. So pretty orderly auction there. But overall, it looked like it was weakening, and it was starting to show signs that sellers had been found and were likely to continue lower. No such luck so far. Let me pull up my, just 1 minute. Boom. So far this week, here's what we've done compared to prior weeks. You can see that we're holding nice and high. Here we go. Last week we broke the one-time framing down. We broke lower, and then we took that right back. We finished at the high of the week. Finishing at the high of the week gives us continuation higher, and that's where we are. And when we zoom in and look at how we've traded day to day just to keep track of what's going on, we have just an absolutely roaring channel going straight up here in the S&P. So lots of room to the upside is what investors are saying right now, and it's there's nothing here. There's nothing that tells us that the market is done auctioning higher prices, that it's done seeking out sellers. It's not able to find sellers, and as long as it's not able to find sellers, we know that sellers are there. If we have a day that operates as normal and we have an impulse down with a continuation and better than 1.5% move lower, we know we've found some sellers, and we may see a day or two of consolidation and further selling after that, like we've seen in the past. But overall, there's nothing that's going to stop this market right now, and that's just the way it is. It makes it difficult to trade simply because the opportunity is one-sided, and most of us here are day traders. So for today, what's expected? We're opening on the upper end of the range. I expect this will drift up a little bit more on the open, expecting an open auction out of range. I'm looking for it to dip briefly down. Potentially, if this auction was to operate properly, we would push down to 35.50, get an impulse up and out, and then consolidate into the close into new highs, just like we saw yesterday. That's the most likely scenario. We do have a market that has its point of control above the prior high, above the prior range, and above the IB. There's significant strength here. You could see here yesterday that the delta was pushed up and remained relatively strong throughout the session. So I'm looking for it to push higher. Once it pushes higher, to go sideways, just like we saw yesterday. The alternative is always the same: open auction out of range, push up, find sellers, push into the point of control, consolidate down in the point of control area, and then get back up. And then again, as I'd outlined multiple times, we'd end up with a B-shaped profile or a sideways butt like I'm drawing it here. I can't draw with the mouse. And that's the likely scenario there, that the market will pull back and just auction yesterday's area. If it runs out of buyers early and we don't see aggressive sellers step in, it's just likely to find two areas of value and just trade both of them. Um, so I'm not in the business of predicting where the market's going to go, in the future. Is it going to go to 3,000 or not? I don't know. I don't really care. I'm looking for the rotations day in, day out. And that's basically what my career is. Try not to, in this environment, you're going to be enticed to, and you're going to want to try to predict what the top is likely to be. So you look at statistics and you sit there and say, well, it has not done this, and so the probability of another high after 4 highs in a row is XYZ, and then you have downward bias. I suggest you stay away from that unless you're some sort of a macro trader. It doesn't make any sense to play those gross big picture statistics as you need a really large sample to make them valid, and you probably don't have enough data to come up with that. And so overall, don't try to predict where the high is going to be. Play the short. As long as the market is showing strength, play the short side. It doesn't mean you don't get short, but play the short side, but play it light and tight, right? You play the short side with tighter targets, and you move your stop more quickly because it's likely to turn back up and push highs. And then the long side, look for areas to lean against. Yesterday, the high, the prior day's high and the IB high were decent areas to push against. You had the VWAP and mid in that area. Didn't push very far. You could only squeeze about 2 points out of that trade, but I'm much more comfortable holding to the long side as long as the market is doing what it's doing than the short side. But I will get short, but I keep my shorts light and tight. That doesn't, not my physical shorts, but my short trades. Good luck today, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Don't forget to sign up for next week's webinar on October 10th on Tuesday. I'll be talking about selecting and doing the homework to prepare to trade a new product. The link for that is on my Twitter feed as well as in the description of this video. Good luck.